All right, well, thank you for coming out on this beautiful day. I guess we could have done it last Sunday when it was snowing. You would have been mad at me then too, right? So anyways, let's get started. Welcome to all of you, and welcome to all of you at home that are listening. It's a good thing you all weren't here because I don't think we could have socially distanced with all those people. I'm hoping most of you have watched that Flipgrid video to think about what you're going to be doing for your Works of Mercy project. If you haven't done so, do that in the next week before class next week, because I'm going to talk about it with you a little bit more. But I do want to clarify a couple things. Ellen Porterfield had a great question. She emailed me the other day to say, could she take 2 of her volunteer experiences and make them into one video? The answer is no, you got to do 2 videos. But I want to talk a little bit more briefly about the volunteer experiences. It's wonderful if you volunteer for your sister's soccer team or your little brother's soccer team. That's a great thing to do. But I want this to be more related to helping the poor, something in community in that way. Does that make sense, parents? So I'm digging a little bit deeper here. Those are all wonderful things you need to learn how to do, but you're going to hopefully reflect on these experiences a little bit. And like, say, for instance, we're going to have this Christmas pie sale we're having. So that is we're not just selling pies, and I do need your help, some of you helping me with getting the pies to people's cars and selling, of course, but it's for Missionary Childhood Association. So what's Missionary Childhood Association? Well, they help missions around the world, children around the world that don't have access to clean water, to schooling, to housing. So I want you to talk about that a little bit with me in the video, even give me statistics on it. I've got a couple of things I'll give you on each of those speakers that we have. You can do it on that. So I just want you to go a lot deeper with it, because I want you to reflect on this. And I want you to even say, okay, this is a problem we have in society. Here's what I have, we can solve it. Or why do we have this problem in society? Does that make sense to you, what I want you to do? I want you really to be a lot more critical with it. And I honestly don't care if you see the church as being a hindrance in something possible. You see where there's a problem we're having with racism in the church and speak up about that. That's perfectly fine. That's how we make change. And as I said to you that day when the racism speaker was here, you are all the voice of the future, and we're counting on you. And I'm counting on you not just to sit there and check out when a speaker's here, okay? You're the one that are going to be the change, and you're going to force us old people to change too. So that's not a bad thing. So I want you to be thinking about that. So welcome to Pam Heil. She has been doing this for a couple years for me, and she is a well-known speaker in the area. She's founder of Empowered to Love Ministries, and most of you have got a book today, or you've gotten a book with your older children here. She's a certified Christian counselor with years of experience as a teacher, coach, campus minister, youth minister, consultant, and facilitator of Family First, which is a ministry to empower moms. So she's not someone I just plucked out of society to come give this talk. She's very, very well qualified, and I think you guys will have a really good time hearing her today. So let's welcome Pam Heil.
Hello. So I get to have my mask on when I stay up here. So I'm going to stay up here more than I normally do. If I ask you to come out for any reason, I will put my mask on. So we will certainly be safe, I promise. Okay? Put it together in prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Dear Lord, we thank you for this magnificent day, this unbelievable weather, the opportunity to come here together tonight, our health, which allows us to be here. Dear Lord, we ask that you bless each of us with a keen awareness that you love us, that each of us is beautifully and wonderfully made in your image. Dear Lord, help us celebrate. It is because you loved us first that we are capable of loving. This evening, dear Lord, please help me, help these young people understand what real love is and deal with some of the confusing aspects which society throws in their way. Guide me, open the hearts, minds, and ears of all people present as we pray together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. So, my friends, we are going to be talking tonight about love and the confusing parts of what that means in today's world. And I'm going to start tonight by sharing some definitions of love that were given to a psychologist when he asked little people between the ages of 6 and 8 what they thought love was. Okay? So this first person says, love is that first feeling you feel before all the bad stuff gets in the way. Now, they have no clue what that means, but you do, right? And you do, right? Bad stuff gets in the way, and we realize very, very quickly that love is a decision, that we can focus on the things that irritate us, that aggravate us, or we can focus on the goodness and look for the goodness that is in each one of us. Love is a decision. This little person said, when my grandmother got arthritis, she couldn't bend over and paint her toenails anymore. So my grandfather does it for her all the time, even though his hands got arthritis too. That's real love. My young friends, real love is other-centered. It's not about me, though it is in loving that we receive. This little person says, when someone loves you, the way they say your name is different in their mouth. You know your name is safe in their mouth. That's kind of a weird thing, but let's think about it a minute. Let's break it open. How many of us in this church this evening has ever been hurt by another person's words? How many have been totally innocent of hurting someone, but their words were misunderstood? You know, especially when we're communicating on screens all the time, which is kind of an anonymous way other than Zoom or other Zoom-like things that we now have been exposed to. But the fact of the matter is, many of us can communicate anonymously, and we therefore do not read the response of the person to whom we're speaking. I find that when I speak with you with masks on, it's very difficult for me to connect with you when a mask is on. First of all, I can't read your emotions. I can see your eyes. I can't tell if you're smiling. I can't tell if you're sad or if I'm touching you. I can't tell if my sense of humor is being understood. It's very difficult when we can't see each other. And it's so easy to hurt people when we don't see their nonverbals. We don't see how our words are either building them up or tearing them down. So that definition is pretty profound, in my opinion. Your name is safe in their mouth. This little person said, love is what is in the room with you at Christmas. If you stop opening presents and listen. One of the things we parents can get stuck in is the whole idea of presents. Presents, and think that is what they need. And what I have found from years and years of ministry with teenagers, that what they really want is PRESENCE. They want time with you. Oh no, my kids don't want to be near me. Well, then we have to work harder on making offline time more appealing than online time. Because in fact, the relationship that you have with your children will guide them in all these decisions I'm talking with you about tonight. Because they cannot think the way we think. Their prefrontal lobe starts developing at 16, continues developing for a man until 33, and for a woman till 28. What does this prefrontal lobe do? It assesses danger. It abstractly thinks. It decides cause and effect. And so these kids can't make decisions that they're being asked to make in an informed way. And if you remember when your children were little, they learn by imitation and they learn by curiosity, right? So all the things that are out in the world that are sending messages to your kids, okay, they're going to pick up because of curiosity, and perhaps they will even engage in the behaviors because they will imitate the behaviors. So it's extremely important that you are in an intimate relationship with your children, because if they know and feel loved and connected to you, then the decisions that they make will be made because they don't want to disappoint you. Here's the key. If they don't know what you stand for, what your virtues are that you value, they won't know how to act because you haven't named them. So intentional parenting is paramount in today's world. You have to be more vigilant than ever at establishing this intimate relationship with your kids. Define for them what your virtues and values are, name them and model them, and then love them enough that they will dialogue with you about the challenges that they're presented with in their lives on a daily basis. And I know it's not easy, but it is essential. Rules without relationship will cause rebellion. Les and Leslie Parrott say this. But if there's a relationship and you have rules that, of course, coincide with your virtues and values, then they will want to follow those rules because they will not want to disappoint you. And if they don't know what those rules are, or if they feel that they're a burden to you and that they don't really feel connected to you, then we will not be the primary educators of our children, which is what we're supposed to be. The domestic church, the first church is the family. You are supposed to be their primary educators. And they will not listen and they will not act unless they're in relationship with you and you have clearly defined for them what you value. What virtues do you? This is what it means to be a Heil. This is what it means to be part of this family. This is how we act. This is how we treat people. This is what we believe. We have to name it and model it. And by doing that, my young friends, you will be empowered until your brain catches up. And it will catch up. But you will be empowered by listening to the virtues that your parents name and model for you. And that will truly arm you against many things in the world that can cause you pain and heartache and get you very confused about a lot of different things. So this little person said, love is when you tell a boy that you like his shirt and then he wears it every day. I love that. I hope you're smiling, okay? I love that because it is so real. It is so hard to know how to let somebody know that you like them. It's so hard to appropriately maybe flirt a little bit. And if your guidelines in that area are based on the media, which will tell you this is how you should dress, this is how you should talk, this is what pictures you should send to somebody that you like, you're going to have a lot of heartache, which I, as a lover of teenagers, do not want you to have. You see, that's the reason I talk to you, because I have held people in my arms for 40 years, crying, sobbing, even wanting to die because of decisions that they made and the pain that those decisions bring. So if I can get you to not make some of those decisions, you will have more joy and more peace in your life and a lot less anxiety. When you leave here tonight, I invite you to take your phones out and text at least 3 messages that you hear from me tonight. Text them to your best friends, because it helps if your best friends are coming from the same point of view as you are. So think about that as you listen to me, okay? This little person said, during my piano recital, I was so nervous, but I looked out and I saw my dad waving in the back of the auditorium. And I wasn't nervous anymore. Do you remember when your mom and dad, grandmas and grandpas, people who loved you, could kiss your boo-boos and make them better? Maybe you have little brothers and sisters that still will be running along, falling, scraping their knees, looking up, not knowing if they're supposed to cry or not, and then seeing your mom or your dad scoop them up and give them kisses, and then all of a sudden they feel fine. Well, one of the saddest days of our lives, parents, is the first day we realize we can't kiss our kids' boo-boos and make them better. The first time they were 15th on a 14 jersey team, and it's their passion, it's their love for a certain sport, and they don't make the team. And you can't kiss that boo-boo and make it better. Or the first time they're betrayed by a friend that they thought they trusted completely, and then all of a sudden, everything that they had told this friend is texted out to everybody, and you can't make it better with a kiss. It's one of the saddest days of a parent's life, my young friends, but listen to me when I can tell you this is important. I want you to trust the love. What do I mean by that? I mean trust that your parents love you. And parents, trust that your kids love you. And when life gets tough, and when your heart is hurting, or when you're scared, or when you're anxious, or when you're wounded, don't try to handle life by yourself. Trust the love. Tell your parents, lean on the source of love, our God. When we're hurting, when we're mad, when we're scared, pray. And go to our God who loves us, and go to our family who loves us. It will make life so much easier for you. This little person said, I know my older sister loves me because she gives me all her old clothes and has to go out and buy new ones. See, if you didn't have masks on, you'd be smiling right now. I let my big sister pick on me because my mommy says she only picks on me because she loves me.
So I pick on my baby sister because I love her. Boys, this is for you. When you love somebody, your eyelashes go up and down, and little stars come out of you. That animation is so close to how guys have described to me what happens to them the first time they don't think a girl is yucky and they really, really think that she's special. It's kind of a weird thing. They describe it as an out-of-body experience, that all of a sudden, it's like hanging out with the guys, shooting hoops, playing football, whatever, is not nearly as important as just sitting there and waiting for her to walk by. And it's scary. And the feelings that you have are first-time feelings. And they're kind of scary. And you may not know what to do with them or how to handle it. Trust your parents. Parents, you need to talk to your kids about that kind of stuff so that they know you're an approachable parent, because there's no greater gift that you can give them than the idea that they can come to you with anything and that you can listen to their needs, not just with your ears, but with your heart and also with your memories. Now, there's one thing that I need to say. I would tell kids a lot in the beginning of my ministry when they weren't getting along with their parents. I don't know about you, but sometimes kids come to me and they complain that their parents just don't understand them. They can't stand their parents, or whatever. They're mad all the time, whatever it is. And I used to say to the kids, look, there's one thing I'm confident of. Your parents have been your age, but you have never been their age. And a really good friend of mine, Mike McCarthy, said to me, Pam, you can't say that. I said, come on, why can't I say that? I know that's true. And he said, no, it's not true. You see, none of us has ever been their age in today's world. And because of that, we need to listen more than we talk. I'll give you an example. Even the word appropriate. Like parents will use that word. They'll say, now, do you think that's appropriate? Their minds are thinking, you bet it's appropriate. That's what everybody's doing. That's the message everywhere. Why wouldn't it be appropriate? Do you see the difference? What might seem appropriate to us doesn't seem even close to being the same thing as what is appropriate to them. And what they think is appropriate, you would find very inappropriate. So dialogue, trusting the love between you and them is going to be extremely important as they journey from this stage of life to adulthood. And it's so important. I hope you're just getting a little bit of how important it is. This little person said, you really shouldn't say I love you unless you mean it. But if you mean it, you should say it a lot because people forget. You see, we're wired to love. Our purpose for existence is to love God with mind, body, soul, and strength, and love our neighbor as we love ourselves. And that's all very challenging. Who is my neighbor? Who do I have to love? And when I look in the mirror, I have to love myself? Come on, that's a huge commandment. But that's what we're called to. Our whole purpose for existence is to love, to know we are loved, and to share that love with one another. This little person said, God could have said magic words to make the nails fall off the cross, but he didn't. This is real love. Might be thinking, where do I sign up? I want to get nails pounded in my wrists. Why would I want that kind of love? And again, it's part of the question. It's part of the mystery. It's part of the journey. And I'm going to take you on a journey now. I'm going to take you through a decision-making process because these little people really understand what love is. It's other-centered. It's not about them. It's a weird kind of feeling. It puts a lot of challenge on us to be kind, to be careful with our words. And then hormones kick in and the media takes over and you get really confused about how we are supposed to act in these bodies that have been made sacred by the incarnation. You know, people used to talk about the body as something dirty and sinful and evil. But now we realize because of the incarnation, our bodies are sacred. When I was a kid, we used to call the bodies the temple of the Holy Spirit. And in reality, that's what we are. The Holy Spirit lives within us. And we are supposed to see the face of Christ in everyone with whom we come in contact. Even the people we don't like. Wait a minute. What do you mean? I have to love somebody I don't like? That doesn't make sense. Yeah, it does. Because like and love are two different things. Like means, okay, so you have a Michigan shirt on. So the people that like you, all right, would probably be people who also like Michigan. And some other things that you like, right? You're comfortable with them. You like to hang out with them. You have a lot in common. They get you, okay? You, on the other hand, and I have nothing in common. I already know she has nice eyes, so I'm picking on her a little bit. What's your name? Sarah? Sarah. So you and I don't really like each other, okay? We seem, I don't know, we just don't click, all right? Sometimes that happens to people. Anybody have anybody in your family you don't click with? Yeah. You know, sometimes that's the people you're most like. Sometimes it's the people you're most different. How many of you have a friend, a really good friend, who has other friends that you don't click with? Yeah? I mean, you know, like you get along great with this friend until another friend comes along and then all of a sudden things aren't right, cool, whatever. You see, like is a feeling. And even though love is also a feeling, it's also a decision. And St. Thomas Aquinas' definition of love is one that I love. It says, to love is to will the good of another. Now, we don't usually use will that way in a sentence, but I'm going to say it the way maybe you'll understand it. To love is to want what is best for everyone, even people you don't like. Again, it is a decision. It's a decision that's hard for us, but the closer we are to the source of love, the better we are at offering people that we don't even like the true hope that everything that happens to them builds them up. Celebrate their successes and mourn with their losses. This is what it means to choose to love. Okay, we're going to get right into the body part of it, though, because what we do with our bodies is kind of challenging. And I saw a guy named William. I asked him his name. So, William, I need you to come up here with me, please. Make sure your mask is secure. Okay? Give William a hand, everybody. Okay, normally I do a lot of interaction. I'm going to be very limited in what kind of things I can do tonight. But I don't want to lose this because this is crucial. Okay, William? I want you to look out to your peers there, all right? I want you to pick whichever foot. Are you right-handed? Yeah. Okay, so probably your right foot is your dominant foot, okay? All right, I want you to put all your weight on your right foot and pick up your left foot, okay? All right, get it up there. Oh, see, that was really mean of me. Okay, so come over here a little closer, William. Oh, right there, not too close, I forgot. Okay, so William, I want you to do it again. First of all, is William taller than I am? Yeah? Well, pretend he weighs more than I do. I'm not sure about that part anymore, okay? But William, so do you ever lift weights?
A little bit.
Okay, do you think you could lift 10 pounds of weight above your head? Yeah, okay. So let's agree on two things, my young friends. William is taller than I am and stronger than I am, okay? Can you all accept that? Yeah, okay, cool. All right, William, do that again, please. Okay, so William, for some reason, little old me has control over your body. And you're bigger than I am. You're stronger than I am. So how's that working? Okay, so try it again. Come on. Okay, notice he puts his foot down. I didn't even touch him. The power of suggestion is very keen. Once somebody gets power over you, it doesn't take much to control you again. Now watch this. Okay, William, stand just like you are, buddy. All right, nice and balanced. All right, don't let me move you from that spot. Okay? What's different about William? Talk to me. Why couldn't I push him around? Somebody, please. Don't be shy. He had both feet down. What does that make him? Stronger? What else? Balance. Very good. He has a solid foundation, my young friends. And little old me or anybody bigger than I are not going to push him around. They're not going to, because he knows what he stands for. And he's got a solid foundation. So, you know when I said I wanted you to text some things? So the first thing I wanted you to text to your friends is trust the love. And the second thing I want you to text to your friends is this. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. Please say that. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. So my parents, they need to know what they stand for, which you're helping them with, all right? And then you need to decide that you're going to stand for that. And when other temptations or people try to talk you into something, you already know what you stand for, and you're not going to be tempted. You're not going to be pushed around. You're not going to be persuaded to do or be somebody that you're not called to be, or do something that you're not supposed to do. You know that because you're solid. Now, what happens in life, my young friends, is sometimes you give that power away. So here's William. He's solid, man. He is solid. He knows what he believes in. He's a good dude, and he is not going to be persuaded by anybody. But, do you have a sport? Do you have a sport that you do?
Football.
Football. Okay. So William likes football, okay? And his football team was sitting at lunch today, and they were talking in a very unkind, insulting way about girls. And William was really bothered by this. He has sisters that he loves and honors. He has a mother and a grandma that he loves and honors. He's not comfortable with this. But he wasn't strong enough to say anything. So he's feeling kind of lousy when he comes home at night. And his mom says to him, "How was your day, William?" And what did you say, William?
Fine.
Fine. You had a really bad time today. You had an English test, you studied for a math test, you blew the English test. But you didn't trust the love to tell your mom the truth. I had a really bad day. I didn't know what to do today when my friends were talking about girls in a really disrespectful way. So, William asked his mom if he could go to a party. And she said, "William, I was in your room today, buddy, and needs a little work. You can't go to a party until you clean your room." Now, William is upset because he doesn't drink, he doesn't use drugs, he hasn't had sex, he gets good grades, he's polite to his teachers, he's a good friend. And he's kind of ticked off that his mom's giving him a contingency, which, by the way, is a very good thing because you have to teach your kids responsibility. That really empowers them. But this is his mind thinking, okay? All right? And he's ticked. But he cleans his room and his mom lets him go to the party. Now, because William is so solid, here's the thing about kids. Did you know that when kids are doing something that makes them feel bad, that they know they shouldn't do, did you know that they want everybody else to do it too? Because then it won't make them feel bad. Tom McGrath says, if you don't live what you believe, over time, you come to believe what you live. It's desensitization. If you don't live what you believe, over time, you come to believe what you live. And so here's William and his friends, and they want to get William drunk. So William's in a foul mood. Somebody comes up and offers him a beer. Take it and drink it. Okay? All right? Then somebody else on the other side of the party sees William, Mr. Perfect Dude, is drinking. I'm going to give him a beer. See if he'll drink it. And he does. All right? Then somebody else gives him another beer and even another beer. So what happens here, my young friends, is that he is giving his power away because he gets drunk. This is the number one reason that you should stay away from alcohol and drugs. Because even if you know what you stand for, there's a whatever thing that happens. And even though the whatever thing happens, and you didn't really know what you were doing the next day, you have to deal with whatever you did. And it's hard. So William's drunk. So he gets in the car and he's driving drunk. Drive drunk that way. Drive drunk that way. Okay? And he hears a siren. Sees the flashing lights. I'm a police officer. He pulls over. I knock on the window. Good. Get into character. All right? And I say to him, young man, have you been drinking? And you say, no. Okay, he's really into character. I'll say, young man, would you please get out of the car? And you do. Come on over here. All right? Now, there's all kinds of sobriety tests. Okay, there's the breathalyzer. There's also the one where you stand with your arms out and you touch your nose. Okay, I can do that all day because I'm sober. A third sobriety test is this. Watch. Young man, stand on one leg. And he can't. Interestingly enough, I want you to keep that visual because when he has both feet planted, unless he chooses to give his power away via alcohol or drugs, he's in control. And if he gives his control away, there are really tough consequences. All survivable, but hard. And they're not survivable by themselves because they're hard. This is where you trust the love and you go to your parents. You go to some adult that you trust. Because you see, we have a hard time forgiving ourselves for mistakes, but our God does not have a hard time forgiving us. We have this awesome God of do-overs, second chances, whatever you want to call it, unlimited mercy, and unconditional love. William, no matter what you do in your life, young man, you can't do anything to make God love you more than God does. And you can't do anything to make God love you less. And that is the promise of our God to each of us. And God, in God's wisdom, gave us the sacrament of reconciliation because he knows we're going to mess up. And he wants us to have a reminder of his love and mercy. So we can do the do-over ourselves, forgive ourselves, and make better choices. Thanks, William, for coming up. Give William a hand. So we have to decide what we're going to do with these bodies. We have 3 moralities we have to choose from, okay? The first morality I'm not going to bring anybody up here for this one, so I'm just going to be all three, all right? The first morality is called a recreational, oh, I can take this off. A recreational morality. Recreate. Sex is fun. Sex is free. Sex is always for me. How can anything that feels so good ever be bad? A recreational morality is the number one morality conveyed in our world today in all forms of media. And my young friends, it's not a good one. I'm going to tell you a story, and even some of you parents, I know this is the same story, but it's the perfect story. It's a true story, but it's the perfect story to help you understand. A 13-year-old girl came into my office, and she said, "Hey, can I talk to you? I heard you were a good listener." I said, "Well, of course, thank you." I wrote her a pass. She took it back to class. She came into my office, and she was pretty like I'm okay kind of thing. And she said to me, "Before we get started, I want you to know some things about me." I said, "I would love that." She was 13. She was a freshman. I didn't know her yet. And she said to me, "I love my life." And man, I don't hear that much from teenagers. I said, "Well, that's great." I said, "Tell me about your life." And she said, "I started smoking cigarettes when I was 9. I started drinking beer when I was 11. I started smoking pot when I was 12. And I've had sex with, 6 or 7 different guys. And right now, I'm in love with a guy that I met at the mall. And in the middle of the night, I sneak out. And I have sex in his car and get back home in bed before mom even knows I'm gone." Now, if my daughter was telling me that, my jaw would drop and I would go, "Are you kidding me?" But Frank always told me when my own teenagers were doing things, he'd always say, "Would you put your campus ministry hat on and just listen instead of reacting?" So I said, "Well, if your life is so great, why are you here?" And she said, "I'm worried about my kid's sister." And I immediately said, "Oh, is she sick?" She said, "No, she's not sick. But last night she told me she went to a party and got drunk and made out with a bunch of different guys." And I said, "Okay. So why are you worried about your sister?" She said, "Lady, you're stupid. I thought you were supposed to understand. Did you hear what I said? My 11-year-old sister is getting drunk and making out with different guys." I said, "Yeah, I did hear that." She said, "I'm out of here. You just don't get it." And I said, "You're so right. I don't get it. Can you help me understand? Why don't you want your 11-year-old sister to do the very things that you told me that you did, and you told me you love your life? Why don't you want her to imitate you?" And she said one of the saddest things I've ever heard. She said, "Because I love my little sister." You see, my friends, when you have a recreational morality, what happens is you stop loving yourself. Every time you give a part of yourself away, there's an emptiness. There's a quest for love and connection that really works in the opposite way. This young 13-year-old girl told me she loved her sister, but the tragedy was she no longer loved herself. So, my young friends, a recreational morality is bogus. Don't ever buy into it, even though it's everywhere around you. It's a no-win situation. And parents, you have a handout that I'm not going to discuss tonight, but is crucial for you to discuss with each of your kids, because it is real and it needs to be addressed. Because a recreational morality is truly deadly in so many ways. The death of your own belief that you are lovable, valuable, precious. The death of knowing and feeling like you are unlovable, less than, when in fact you were a victim who has to learn how to do better and to choose differently. So that code of morality, that standard which says this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong, that's what morality is. The recreational morality, no. The second morality you have to choose from is a little more confusing. It's called a relational morality. This morality says, when I love someone, sex is a beautiful expression of love and therefore cannot be wrong. Well, the first time I ever knew I was in love was in 8th grade. Not because you're in 8th grade, because I knew I was in love in 8th grade. You see, when I was in 8th grade, I was ugly. I mean, there's no different word to describe me. I had kinky curly hair when everybody else had beautiful straight hair. And I was legally blind. So I had these real thick pop bottle glasses. And I had an Italian nose that always looked really big to me when I looked in the mirror. I knew I was ugly. And that's a tough thing to feel. But there was a guy named Bill. And he made me feel like a princess. All of a sudden, this ugly duckling felt like a princess. How did he do that? Well, I sat here, and he sat here in 8th grade. And when I was in 8th grade, we didn't change classes. We had to stand up when the teacher called on us. So every day, I got to stare at Bill. And he was so cute. And when he'd stand up, I'd get to watch him stand up. And I'd get all these goosebumps and funny feelings because he was so cute. And I'd watch him sit down. And my heart would just go, oh my gosh, this guy is so cute. I think I'm in love. And in the afternoon, after his sugar lunch, sometimes he'd sit there like this. Oh, and I just wanted to be the hand that held up that beautiful face. You see, I knew I was in love. I had never felt so special, and I had never felt the feelings that I felt toward Bill. Well, the day after 8th grade graduation, my phone rang, and it was Bill, and he was crying. Now, I didn't even know guys cried. My dad coached a baseball team, and I was a pretty good baseball player when I was a girl. And so I would go to all the practices and stuff. And then on game day, I wasn't allowed to play. I just got to keep score because it was a different then. But guys, crying's okay. You got the same tear ducts we have. Crying's just a way of showing a deep intimacy with your feelings. And I didn't know why he was crying. And I said, what's the matter? And he said, I don't want to tell you on the phone. He said, can I meet you someplace? I forgot one of my most important sayings to you that you have to remember, and I got to do it now. So I need a little, Sarah, just you come up here. Don't come up here, just like, yeah, come up here, all right? Sarah, So I want you to get down on your knees and pretend you're on a tricycle, okay? It was a 70-degree day today. You just had a birthday. You got a tricycle, and it was going to be your first time riding it, okay? And you put one foot on one pedal, and you put the other foot on the other pedal, and they kept slipping off. And you were so cute. But I wanted to go get my camera because I wanted to get my phone when it was charging, and I knew that you were going to figure this out because you're my little girl. So I run in, I'm going like 15 seconds. I get my phone off the charger, and little Sarah has figured out how to get her tricycle going. So go that way. Okay? And I see her, and I see a car coming down the hill, and I grab her at the last second, and I say, "No, no, Sarah. Carl, kill you. No, no, Sarah." What will Sarah do? What will Sarah do? Thank you. Sarah will cry. But I loved her enough to say, no, no, no. Give Sarah a hand. I hate you. You are the worst dad in the whole world. Mom, you just don't want me to have friends because you're afraid I'll be more popular than you are. I'm the only one that can't see that movie. I'm the only one that's not allowed to go to the party. I hate you, and I'm never going to speak to you again. How does that feel? Don't you feel all loved and special right now? You see, here's the thing. When they're little, you see the danger. Otherwise, these dudes would be flying out of second-story windows when they were little, or crawling into fireplaces that are lit because they're so pretty. Somebody loved you enough to say, no, 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 that'll hurt you. And my parent friends, it is hard to say no in a world where everybody else is saying yes. And sometimes we fall for it. We act against our own gut. And we let our kids do something and we didn't really want them to do it. But in fact, you let them because everybody else was saying yes. And I can't tell you how many times over the years a parent will sit in my office sobbing because of something that happened to their kid when they let them do something that their words, I knew in my gut, I should have said no. And so, no is a love word. Say that with me. Say it like you mean it. Come on. No is a love word. Okay? Come up here, please. What's your name, honey? Katie? Kate. Okay, Kate? All right. Kate, ask me, I'm your mom, ask me if you can go to the mall and hang out with your friends. This is pre-COVID, okay? No, Kate, you may not.
Thanks, Mom, for loving me enough to say no.
Did you hear that? Say it louder.
Thanks, Mom, for loving me enough to say no.
Thanks, Mom, for loving me enough to say no. I wanted you to hear that one time, okay? Because you won't hear it in the moment. But I'm asking you to love your kids enough to say no in a world where everybody's saying yes. You won't regret it. And you will trust their love when they say no. And because you don't want to disappoint them, because they've named the reason why they did say no, you won't do it. You will honor and respect them. Thanks, Kate, for coming up. And my friends, my parent friends, trust me, when your kids are adults, when you say no, when everybody else is saying yes, they're going to call you. They're going to write you. They're going to text you. And they're going to tell you thanks for saying no to things before they were ready. And you know when they're ready. But don't forget about that part of the brain, okay? Don't expect them to make adult decisions. Don't expect them to understand cause and effect, to abstractly think, to assess danger. They can't do it yet. My very smart kids used to get mad when I tell them that. One girl in particular said, I'm really smart, I know. And then when she was a senior, she said, you know, you were so right. The way I see the world now compared to when I was a freshman, night and day. It has to do with the brain development. So, no is a love word. So back to my relational morality. Bill asked if he could see me. I asked my mom, and she said yes. So I met him a couple of blocks away from my house at East Elementary School. And he looked like a mess. You know how you look when you've been crying? You got swollen eyes and blotches all over you, you know? You ever notice that? It's not very pretty, is it? Okay. But I said, Bill, what's wrong? And he told me that his dad had told him that morning that they were moving and that this was going to be the last time I was going to get to see him because his dad was leaving to start a new job and he needed to help his mom pack up and move. Oh, I felt horrible. I started crying. He started crying. We're hugging each other and we're both crying. And he told me he loved me. And I told him I loved him. Now you got to understand, he was leaving me. We didn't have any of the technology that you have to stay connected. He was literally walking out of my life. And the ache in both of our hearts was so deep that we just held each other and cried. And then he said, Pam, I've thought about this. I want to show you how much I love you. And so the first time I ever did it was behind the swing sets at East Elementary School. And his name was Bill. And I loved him. And he loved me. Now, why am I standing up here telling you about the first time I ever did it? Because what Bill and I did, my young friends, is we kissed. What did you think we did? This is where I want you to understand the power of the messages around you. When I was a kid, never in a million years, as an 8th grade girl or an 8th grade boy, would our minds even go toward having sex. Because we loved, honored, and respected each other, that wasn't even part of the plan. It didn't mean that we didn't have the feelings. It just meant that we knew that wasn't an option. So I challenge you not to let the power of the media get you all confused about when I love somebody, sex is a beautiful expression of love. Because, my friends, Bill moved away. And my freshman year, I was in love with Jeff. And my sophomore year, I was in love with Eddie. And my junior year, I was in love with Scott. So if I had a relational morality, call me pregnant. Okay? But thank goodness I didn't have a relational morality. Because this person over here who has the committal morality says to this person, yeah, I understand how love could be the deciding factor, but what if I don't really know what love is? Maybe there's danger in a relational morality too. I think I'm going to listen to the church. The church teaches that sex is sacred, that chastity is a virtue, and that I should choose chastity, which means I'm not going to have sex with somebody because I love them. I'm certainly not going to have sex with somebody just because I find them attractive, or somebody tempts me or talks me into it or whatever. Chastity is a virtue. This is a hard decision to make, but it's the best decision. I was in an all-girls school in Boston, and they said, the only reason the church is teaching abstinence and chastity is because they don't want us to have any fun. And I told them, if you ever talk to a kid that wishes they wouldn't have, or a priest who has listened to people in the confessional, you will know that this is an ideal that the church wants for you because the church loves you. What is chastity? Well, it's a virtue. So let me help you understand it. It's like honesty, okay? How many of you have ever told a lie? Stand up, please. If you're seated right now, you're lying. Get up, okay? All right? Everybody here has told a lie. Does that mean that nobody in this church tonight can ever be honest? Of course not. Honesty is a virtue that you can grow into, and chastity is a virtue that you can grow into. Listen to this definition of chastity. I really like it. Chastity is loving the right person in the right way at the right time. So that, thank you, you can sit down. That committal morality can be varied, all right? So I come around my office, I see a senior boy sitting on a bench, and he's violently shaking. Violently. And I go up to him, I said, are you okay? What can I do? And he said, I feel terrible. I'm going to go home. I said, well, how are you going to go home? And he said, I'm going to drive. And I said, buddy, you're not in any condition to drive. Please come into my office. He comes into my office, he gets in the fetal position, and he's crying and sobbing and shaking and sweating. And I said, I'm calling 911. And he said, 911 won't help me. I said, what's the matter? And he said, last period, his girlfriend told him that she was pregnant. And these were his words. We've been dating for 2 years. We love each other. We're planning on getting married. But I won a Division I football scholarship. And I can't believe I can't take it. Because I can't leave her here to have our baby by herself while I go off and play football. And he cried and he cried. He had a committal morality. He had chosen chastity. They decided as a couple to make love. But listen to chastity. To love the right one in the right way at the right time. It was not the right time. They married. He went to Columbus State. They had a beautiful little boy. And by the time the little boy was 3, they both resented each other so much because parenthood had prevented them from attaining the dreams that they had. It wasn't the right time for them. This is my godson, Mike, and his little girl, Bree. I was lucky enough to visit them at the hospital right after Bree was born. This is not Bree's birth picture, by the way. Okay, all right? Don't worry about it, girls. This is not Bree's birth picture, all right? So I go to visit Bree at the hospital, Mike at the hospital, and he's holding Bree. And he's beaming from ear to ear. Now that is the way he smiled when he was a little boy, but now he was a Marine pilot, and he didn't smile very much as an adult. But he's holding Bree in his arms, and she's looking at him, and he's smiling at her. I said, Mikey, I can't believe how much she's looking at you. He said, of course she's looking at me, Aunt Pam. I'm her daddy. She's my little girl. I love her so much. I have talked to her, read to her, sang to her since the second I knew she existed. He understood that the baby growing in his wife was in fact a baby that was created out of their love. When you make love, it is supposed to be unitive and creative. And how we use our bodies can create life, as in the case of Bree, or destroy life and dreams, as in the case of that senior in high school. And he was afraid to ask for help. They gave birth to a beautiful child. And yeah, you might be thinking, why didn't they just have an abortion? Because I have dealt with many, many, many girls who have had abortions in high school. I've even had parents make their daughters have abortions, even though they say they're pro-life, because they don't want their child pregnant in high school. Well, guess what, boys and girls, young men, young women? When you get pregnant, when you get someone pregnant, you become a mother, and you become a father. Whether that baby lives or not, you have been a co-creator of life with God. You've experienced the beautiful unitive power of a man and woman loving themselves, loving each other, and creating new life. So, aborting a baby doesn't change the fact that you were a mother and you were a father. It just causes another whole level of pain and heartache. Because life is to be treasured, and each person is a gift. And each person as a gift is supposed to spread a certain amount of love in our world. And all these millions of babies who have been aborted never got the chance. So that's not an easy option. It's not even an option that will bring you love and happiness. It'll bring you all kinds of heartache and pain. So the committal morality, the choosing chastity, just means I'm going to love someone the right way at the right time. The right one in the right way at the right time. And so a committal morality is what the church holds out for us as an ideal. It's an ideal worth striving for. So let's review quickly. First thing, trust the love. Maybe your parents can't kiss your boo-boos and make them better, but trust that they love you and they will help you through whatever challenges you have in your life. Secondly, don't ever doubt that life is not worth living because of a decision that you made. Because everything is survival, but because we have a God who loves us unconditionally and has unlimited mercy. Imagine when you're heartbroken, when you feel so lousy and so worthless because of something that you've done. Imagine God sitting right next to you with his arm around you, just loving you. And then trust that love with your parents who represent God to you. They're really your first example of love. Trust the love. Secondly, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. Thirdly, no is a love word. Love yourself enough to say no in a world where everybody's saying yes. And the yes they're saying to are completely countercultural to our Christian values and probably countercultural to the virtues that your family hopefully will name and model for you on a regular basis. And choose chastity. Chastity is the virtue that will help you love the right one in the right way at the right time. So that you will never be faced with the panic and the fear of an unplanned pregnancy. Instead of crying and thinking, oh my gosh, all my dreams are going down the tubes because I love this woman this girl and I want to marry her because I love her, but it wasn't the right time and we didn't make it. It just happens. It's hard. That's why the church holds the committal morality as the ideal. Okay? So trust the church on that one. All right, so I'm at a football game. DeSales is playing Waterston. I was a campus minister at DeSales for 14 years. I was the youth minister at St. Bridget for 15 years, and St. Bridget fed into Waterston. So I went to the football game, and I had kids on both teams that I really knew and really loved and wanted them to do well. So I sat where anyone in that situation would sit. I sat under the scoreboard, and I cheered for both sides. I went out to get a hot dog, and all of a sudden, I wish I could pick somebody up here, but somebody came up behind me and picked me up off the ground. And I turned around, and this guy says to me, "Is that you, Mrs. Heil?" I said, "Well, yes, it is." And I didn't recognize him because I had him in 7th and 8th grade, and he was older. And there's a big difference between the way you look in 7th and 8th grade than when you're older. And I said, "How in the heck are you?" Because he told me his name, and I said, "How in the heck are you?" He says, "I'm great." He said, "I'm happily married. I have 2 beautiful little girls, and it's all because of you." And I said, I don't think so. And he laughed, and I laughed. But then he said, seriously, Mrs. Heil, you know that talk you gave to us on choosing chastity and finding real love in a world where you're getting all kinds of messed up messages? I said, yeah. And he said, well, I thought it was a great idea, and I didn't think I could do it by myself. So I got he played football. He said, I got my defensive buddies, team, whatever you want to call them. And we got together and we're playing poker. And I said to them, hey guys, what'd you think about what that woman said? I'm that woman. You don't have to remember my name. Just think of that woman, okay? And they're all talking about it. And he says, how about if we make a pact? You know how we have to work together in a football game to cause turnovers, to stop the run, to deflect the pass? I think we're going to need help with this. How about if we make a pact? He said, let's say we're not going to graduate from high school. We're going to graduate from high school without smoking, drinking, using drugs, or having sex. And I said, well, that's a great idea. How'd that work out? He said, you wouldn't believe it, Mrs. Heil. He said, every single one of us graduated from high school without smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, using drugs, or having sex. Can you believe it? And I said, yeah, I can believe it. Because there's power in numbers, my young friends. Surround yourself with friends that have the same values that you do, and it's easier to live those values in a world that might be telling you you're weird, or grow up, or what are you afraid of, or any of the other things that people might use to talk you into doing something that they're doing that doesn't make them happy, but it'll be better for them if you do them too. No. Instead, be the guys, be the girls that say, let's get this pact together. Let's support each other. If I make a mistake, I'm going to ask for your help to feel better about myself. I'm not going to talk you into doing what I did because it'll make me feel less bad if you're doing it too. That's not love. Love is to will the good of another. And love is a decision that's hard to make if we're not connected to the source of love. And that's why having your faith is such a gift. Having a personal, intimate relationship with Jesus is such a gift. Having women like our Mother Mary and other people as role models of what it means to really love someone. This is where you want to get your primary influences. Not from some app, not from some image, not from some message on a screen. So, what's your name, honey? Could you come up here? I'm sorry, I didn't hear your name. Hold on. I'll put my mask on. Sorry about that. Forgot. Okay, what's your name, honey? Dave? James, okay. This is James. James, look out there. How old are you? Okay, this is James, and this time I'm not a police officer, I'm not his mom, I'm God. And I say to you, James, my hand is usually on his shoulder, okay? I say, James, I want you to make this world a better place. Now I'm God, I'm talking to you, James, and I'm telling you I want you to make this world a better place. What would you say? Honestly.
I will pick up trash whenever I can.
Literal, see? Okay, so, all right, so here's my thing. My hand's on your shoulder, and you're looking at me, and I'm asking you to do what you think is impossible. I'm 13 years old. How can I change the world? So he might say, okay. And he might say, how? I'm only 13. And God, with infinite wisdom, will say to James, James, I made you good. I gave you gifts and talents. I have a plan for you. Again, to spread a certain amount of good and love in our world that only you can do, James, because you're going to meet people that nobody else is going to meet that's around here. Your life is a plan of love. And you might say, whew, how can I do that? How can I figure out what my gifts and what my goodness is so I can share it with the world? Well, this is where you have to work. This is where you have to trust the love of your parents. You've got to trust the love of your teachers. You've got to trust people who can help you identify what your gifts are, maybe help you choose how to share those gifts with the world through community service. And again, getting your strength from the sources of strength in our faith, from the sacraments, from the Eucharist, from Bible studies, breaking open the word of Scripture, from prayer, from getting down on your knees and leaning into God when you feel bad about yourself, for trusting the love of your parents who in fact represent Christ to you, the first example of love in your life. And God says to James, I know you can do this, James, but you have to do it one relationship at a time. Okay? Go. All right? In our world, we have found in this isolation, this period that we have, that we are missing touch, that we are missing hugs, that we are missing smiles, that we're missing connectedness with somebody in our family. Maybe you're lucky enough to live with your family, but a lot of people are separated, and I haven't hugged 2 of my grandsons since March, and it's killing me. You see, God doesn't plan on us living alone. He doesn't make any of us perfect, but He makes us all good. And the healthier our relationships are, the more we can complete each other. My weaknesses will be your strengths, and your strengths might be my weaknesses, and together we can transform the world. One relationship at a time. So, my young friends, please pray for one another. Please pray for your parents so that they will have the courage to say no out of love for you. Are you crazy, lady? I don't want my parents to say no to me. Trust me. Trust me, when they say no, they're saying no because they love you. And never forget the source. Get down on your knees and pray every day. Ask for help when you're struggling. receive the sacraments, come to Mass, be part of a youth group. Understand that there's power in numbers, okay? And I will pray that each of you will find real love in your life. And if there's pain or mistakes or heartache along the way, that you will remember that our God is the God unconditional and endless mercy. Okay? Thank you for coming tonight, and I really, really appreciate the fact that you are here. The book that Our Lady of Victory has so graciously purchased for each of you is a great tool. What kind of a tool? Well, I wrote it in a really simplified way. You can read it together and talk about, there's 2 questions at the end of each chapter, and the chapters might be 1 page long. They're not long chapters, okay? Talk with them. And then, friends, after you get through this book with your parents, you know, if you have a sleepover, get the book out. Do it with your friends, because there's power in numbers, okay? Again, thanks for coming tonight. God bless you.
Thanks again for coming out, and thank you, Pam. I really, really appreciate it coming out to talk to us every year. Parents, if anybody sneaked in after we got started, we do have a book for those of you who didn't receive one of these before, so you can come up here and get that from me. And for those of you listening at home, you can stop by my house tomorrow. I'll send you my address to pick them up from my front porch. But thank you again for coming out, and I'll see you guys in class this weekend. It's our last class until January 10th. And I did that, as we all know, the numbers are jumping up a little bit, so I think that'll be good. We can all just stay in our own little worlds, but you'll be working on those projects, right? So next weekend I'll see you, and we'll talk about it then. Thank you. I did, yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.